Performance metrics was another thing we got questions about from industry. So these are all really helpful things. That's one thing we're focused on is better using RFIs. Third result of some of the feedback we got at the industry day was we are developing a new procurement strategic plan for our organization. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a big focus on CX and our 4 customers, and industry being one of those key customers that we need to support and nurture during the requirements development process. So we're developing that. We're hoping to finalize it and have it published here in the next few months, hopefully in the 3rd quarter. That is something that we will share not only internally but also externally with industry and our other federal counterparts. Another outcome from the industry day was the IRS is also currently developing its agency-wide strategic plan for FY17 to FY22. The Treasury Department just released their new 5-year strategic plan, so the IRS is next in that process. And so the procurement organization, both our CPO, our deputy CPO, and myself, and some other folks, we're making sure that we have a seat at the table during those conversations and those discussions about what are the strategic goals and priorities for the IRS as a whole. And we are specifically talking about requirements development and acquisition planning because it's a challenge. It's a challenge everywhere that I've worked in the federal government, but we're really focused on, are there certain areas that we can improve as far as making it faster, making it easier, making it more comprehensive. So really, even just having a seat at that table and being a part of those discussions is a change. I think the internal perception or reputation that procurement had is not always positive, and so we're trying to take proactive steps to improve that reputation and make sure that people understand acquisition is a team sport, and although procurement has a big key role to play, there are also a lot of other people involved in the process, and we want that to be a part of the IRS agency-wide plan. Another result of or outcome from the IRS Industry Day is we're going to host a second Reverse Industry Day training event for our staff. So similar to what you guys are going to see this afternoon here, the IRS hosted its first Reverse Industry Day training last April, actually, which was great. We had Kim Pack, I think is a speaker here later today. She was a participant in our Industry Day, Reverse Industry Day last year, which was great. So we're going to host the second one this year, and we're going to have a specific panel based off of feedback from the survey and the Industry Day event we hosted. The panel is going to be titled Strengthening Acquisition Planning Through Proactive Industry Engagement. So we're going to have 4 industry reps come up on stage and actually tell us about the importance of early and meaningful communication with industry. And then we really want to hear what is industry's perspective on various market research methods. RFIs, industry days, one-on-one meetings, group roundtables, what's their perspective. We also want them to share how does industry itself conduct market research. What do you do in your different stages of the acquisition timeline when you're considering pursuing an opportunity? And then also have them emphasize the criticality of knowing government acquisition strategies as early as possible. So really looking forward to that. It's another training opportunity to help our staff. And then the last outcome from the Industry Day, IRS Industry Day we had last year is to host another one. So we're going to host another one this year in 2018. We're currently targeting in June. Don't have a specific date or location yet, otherwise I'll share that with you because we'd love the folks in the audience to attend. But we are going to host another event, and we hope that it continues to be an annual event, if not even more frequently than that. So with that, that was my last slide, and the next slide is just to open it up for questions or comments from the audience. And I'm also specifically curious if any of the industry partners or federal colleagues in the audience have any ideas for what we should talk about at the next IRS Industry Day. So very open to any ideas or feedback you have about specific topics or things that we should cover in our next event. So please. Is that informative? Awesome. Thanks.
Do you have any sense of the change in the tax code, the tax law, how that's going to affect you in the coming year?
That's all the time I have, sorry. Yeah, thought I wouldn't get a tax reform question. So yes, as many of you I'm sure have heard and read about the last few months, is there's the biggest tax reform in over 30 years, was just enacted in December. So that is something that the IRS is quickly and proactively responding to and planning for how to implement it. So I don't have specific information on new requirements or new acquisitions that are coming out, but as you know, there are bound to be a lot of new acquisitions that need to support that. It is a big new public policy objective, and acquisition is the link between that objective and the programs that actually fulfill them, right? So the IRS is building a new organization to implement the tax reform, similar to when the Affordable Care Act was passed and FACTA, new teams, new employees, new resources, and certainly new acquisition requirements that come with that. So we are also preparing ourselves for that and trying to assess what are the internal resources that we'll need to support those new acquisitions. But what I can tell you is, as soon as we do have a sense for new tax reform specific acquisition requirements, I'd really like to publicize that and so industry is aware and they can get a sense of, here's what we think we're going to do in 2018, here's what we think we're going to do in 2019, here are some of the key products or services that we think we need to buy to support the tax reform implementation, especially early on. So sorry I don't have a lot of specific information, but great question, and I appreciate you bringing it up because it's on our minds every day. Sure, in the front.
Yeah, maybe this is something you're going to talk about at your industry day. What are, building on what Casey was talking about, the GSA vehicles.
How is the IRS moving towards the utilization of vehicles,
Sure.
especially with a lot of the new ones coming out?
Sure, absolutely, great question. So since the OMB memo came out last April, mandating that agencies comply with the best-in-class vehicles and also spend under management, we're certainly taking a very big, broad, comprehensive look at our acquisition portfolio and what contracts do we have that are specific IRS or Treasury vehicles, and which ones are we going to continue to utilize, or which ones do we need to transition off of and start using GSA vehicles or the vehicles that are considered best in class. So we're taking a look at everything. Honestly, Oasis, Alliant, NASA Suit, those are just some examples of IT-centric contracts that come to mind. I wouldn't say that we have determined or finalized a specific strategy for each category of products or services that we need. Which vehicle are we going to use in 2018? Which one are we going to use in 2020? But we are working on that. We're really taking a hard look at analyzing all of our numbers, and the specific constraints and requirements, and some of the pros and cons that come with, all right, if we're going to comply with a specific mandate, then what does that mean for resources? What does that mean for acquisition timelines? What does that mean for competition and potentially the innovation or quality of the proposals that could be submitted for this? So we don't have a specific strategy yet, but it is something that we're looking at very, very hard. So thanks for sharing that question.
Rich.
I don't know if we have time.
One more. I
Go
got
ahead.
steal one more.
Jason,
So I'll make a comment and a question. The first comment is, well, thank you for being open to the press. I did not attend, but my colleague did, and it was very worthwhile because the IRS is, if you haven't covered the IRS, you haven't really covered the IRS. So if you talk about from a media, from a contracting perspective. So I appreciate that. The second question is about the RFI initiative. It's a very interesting discussion because when I've talked to vendors recently, I did an interview recently with a head of a very medium-sized large firm, and I asked him about RFIs, and he goes, I hate RFIs, they're worthless. So can you talk a little bit more about your RFI initiative, and are they going to be on Fed BizOps? Where can people find them? Because what tends to happen is you put an RFI out, and I'll pick on our friends at GSA, on the schedule, and if you're not on the schedule, you can't see it. And that's my soapbox, but if you use a Eagle 2 contract, they're a little better about it, but again, you don't see it. So how are you getting the word out about RFIs, and talk a little bit about more in the initiative, please?
Sure, great question. Thanks for bringing that up, and thanks for those comments as well. Yes, so with the RFI initiative, in general, we're trying to be more communicative with the industry and trying to be more proactive and timely so that folks in the industry can have the information that they need to make important business decisions. So we want to share that information in as many mediums or channels as possible. Yes, we're going to be posting things on Fed BizOps. I think if it's a GSA-specific requirement, yes, it's going to be sent to those particular vendors on that vehicle. However, I'm trying to advocate for also sharing the acquisition strategy more broadly. So that does include sharing it on Fed BizOps for everyone to see, and also resharing things on mediums like LinkedIn. so that not only the vendors on the GSA schedule in particular know about what's going on, other companies can think about it, because they might be interested or concerned about teaming arrangements, maybe possible partnerships. They also might want to know about not what's going on 3 months from now, but 3 years from now. Maybe when that particular task order or contract is expired that the IRS awarded, I want to be able to position myself, my company, so that I can potentially compete in the future. So yes, it's something that we want to, we're trying to do a better job of really proactively publicizing the broader acquisition strategies. And also, even if we don't know specifically what we want to do, not having the radio silence. I think a lot of the feedback or frustrations that I've heard from various companies is that even if I can't do business, with the IRS, I would still like to know what are some of the specifics. Do you have a sense for your plan? Do you have a sense for your need? And if you don't, I at least just want to get a response to my email or my phone call, or if I submit a response to an RFI, I'd like to hear some feedback. Was it on the right Was it on the right path? Was in the right direction? Things like that. So we're really trying to proactively announce and share information, but then after the fact, be responsive and share some feedback to companies. So great question. Thank you for asking about that. And I think that is it. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all, to all of our presenters, Larry, Polly, Casey, and Mitch, for sharing how they are innovating in the space of acquisition. Let's give them another round of applause.
All right, so I'd like to actually ask the room a question. Has anybody else noticed the thumping and shaking going on? Good, so it wasn't just my stomach. First, I'd like to let everybody know that everything's okay. No reason to panic. What we're hearing or witnessing is the sound of progress, aka construction. And as exciting as that is, we would rather not have it. So we see the opportunity for, in the theme of collaboration, to do a totally interactive group exercise, the first actually in ACT history. We're going to move rooms. The hotel has agreed to relocate us to the East Renaissance room downstairs. That is where we will eat and hear our afternoon presentations. Okay? Yes. So lunch. We're going to take a break. We're going to migrate down there, and then we'll eat. And our next presenter will be on
Catch up. And now Jose's over there too.
Yes, Jose, he just started last month.
Yeah, you give him a hard time, I hope.
Oh, I hope.
He gets a lot of the credit for the IRS.
Yeah.
So you he'd give me a little bit of a heads up that he was going to go to HHS. I'd heard and I'd asked about it. But it's a really important. It's really good for him.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that was my colleague.
Right.
Yeah, we faced
that. I knew Sheila had gone over a while. That just was that all just change is good for people, so to speak. Yeah. No. I didn't think anything more. I wasn't trying to insinuate it's serious. I just the whole move to get SCS to move, and
Right.
You never know if that's part of that or if that's just.
She's actually.
I was there 4 years. It's time for something new.
Working from a requirement, read a document to columns and say, here's the requirement, here's the language in my
I'll get you in there. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
product description or their marketing material.
Okay.
Word for word.
And then go.